So you drop every single pallet on one side of the map in one chase, and the next time you go over there to loot the killer, you go down in the first 10 seconds because you used all the pallets. Well, my name is Electrified DVD, and I'm going to be showing you guys how to conserve pallets, so you have pallets left even in the late game when all the gens are done. So I'm not going to explain what looping is, because I have a separate video on that was out last Thursday. So you can check that out in the description, and there may be a card in the top right now if I remember to do that, and it's also in my tips playlist down below. So you can check that out if you haven't seen it. But anyways, getting to the topic of the video. To conserve pallets, you want to make sure you're using windows to your advantage. Make sure you loop a window for the full 3 times before it gets blocked to waste as much time as possible. And when you're on a pallet, try to loop it 3 times or more, and after you drop it, if the killer tries to mind game it, then loop it for even longer at that pallet. In some maps, it is absolutely crucial to conserve pallets. Maps like the game, because there aren't many pallets at all and you want to make use with what you have. But on other maps such as Hawkins or Ormond, there are a lot more pallets, so you don't need to conserve pallets as much. You still want to, but it's not as crucial as, say, the game, where you really have to use windows and other things to your advantage. You also want to make sure you have a lot of map knowledge and know what kind of situation you're in. You also want to make sure that you don't use all the pallets in one area during one chase. If you notice you've used a lot of pallets in one area, try to make your way to a different area of the map to loop, so that when someone else comes to loop that part of the map, they aren't stuck in a dead zone with no pallets to help them. It also really helps a lot to communicate with your team about which pallets are being used and which ones aren't. I'm not saying to call out every single pallet you use, but if you use a lot of pallets in one area, then tell your team that. If you're in a Swift or Survive with Friends, then the only pallet you want to call out individually that you dropped is God pallet or Shack pallet, because people need to know if you dropped it, because a lot of people count on that being their late game, and if it isn't, you could screw them over by not telling them. The final tip I have for you guys today is that it is okay to take a hit to conserve a pallet sometimes. If you've used a ton of pallets in one area, it might be a smart idea to take a hit and get the speed boost from that hit to run to another area of the map, so you don't use all up the pallets in that area. You can also fake drop a pallet to try and get killers to respect the pallet and wait for you to drop it, and then when you don't, you get another free loop or 2 around the pallet. Most good killers will just swing through the pallet always, so you can't really do that, but a lot of not as good killers will respect the pallet, and so you can get an easy extra loop or 2 off of that. And you also, I think one of the best perks for looping is dead hard. You can use dead hard very well to conserve pallets, because you know the killer's gonna swing, they might think you're dropping the pallet, you just dead hard and keep going on the loop. You dead hard for distance on a window. I mean, I think I'm going to have a separate video on how to use dead hard, but dead hard is so good for looping, and if you want to try and conserve as many pallets as possible, I would very much recommend you run that perk. But that's all the tips I have for you guys today. I'm sorry this was such a short video. I just felt that we needed to cover this topic, but I also didn't feel that there was that much to talk about on how to conserve pallets. It's a pretty simple concept, so if you use the tips I gave you, then you should be all good and all ready in your games to conserve all those pallets, man. And if you did enjoy the video, make sure to give it a like and subscribe down below. You can check out my socials and previous videos in the description, like my Twitter and my Twitch, and there's also a Google Forms in the description on if you want to get your VOD reviewed to be coached in a future video. So if you want to fill that out, then go for it. I'd appreciate you guys subscribing and liking and commenting and all of that, so it really does help the channel a ton. And with that said, I hope you guys have a fantastic day, and I will see you guys in the next one.